Okay, so this is going to be the first lesson you're going to learn in our first class today. It should be reviewed for most, if not all of you. And we're going to be talking about solving single variable equations. So this is your typical solve for x, solve for y, whatever the variable is. If you don't remember what variable means, it's just basically a letter that you use in place of a number you don't know yet. You're trying to figure out what it is typically. So the keys to remember that I've put in stars here in solving single variable equations are do the opposite of the operation shown. So if you're adding, you do the opposite. You subtract. You multiply, you're going to do the opposite, and divide, and so on and so forth. And it really should add to that. You're going to do the opposite of the operation shown on both sides of the equation. And there's two sides to every equation, and it's separated by the equal sign. So if you get stuck and you're not sure what to do and you forget that first step, think about replacing the variable that you're solving for with the phrase what number, and then read it like a sentence. So for example, if I looked at x minus 6 equals 9, I'd replace the letter x with what number, and I would say what number minus 6 is 9. And the answer for that would be 15, because it's 15 minus 6, that's 9. So that's essentially a way of thinking when you solve equations. Now let's go ahead and just do a few examples of these. So let's say that I had x plus 4 equals 5. My step is do the opposite of the operation shown to this x, but on both sides of the equation. So this says plus 4. My opposite is minus 4. Minus 4. And I do it on both sides of the equal sign. What happens on one side happens on the other. It's just like a mirror. We're balancing it. Plus 4 and minus 4 cancels. You get x. This just comes right down. Equals 5 minus 4 is 1. This problem, y minus 8 equals negative 5. Opposite of minus 8 is plus 8. So I put a plus 8 here, and I put a plus 8 over here. I just draw this line to separate the steps. Minus 8 plus 8, they cancel. Negative 5 plus 8 is positive 3. So y equals 3. 3m equals 27. Now, when you see a number directly next to a variable, there's no plus sign, no minus sign between them, you are looking at a multiplication problem. This is like saying 3 of m, and the word of in math means multiplication. So 3 times m, 3 of m, the opposite of that is divide by 3. Now the symbol for dividing is just a fraction bar. When you do a fraction, you're dividing something. So I put a fraction bar here and a fraction bar there. And then the 3's will cancel because 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 1m is just m. 1 of m. See, I see 1m right here. Not 3 of m, but just 1m. Equals 27 divided by 3 is 9. And lastly, a over 5. When you see the fraction bar, again, that means divide. The opposite of divide is multiply. This is like a dot. Kind of hard to draw with a mouse, but yeah. The opposite of divide is multiply. So these cancel each other. A 5 in a numerator of a fraction multiplied by something with a 5 in the denominator, top to bottom, they can cross cancel each other to make a 1. And 1 of a, like we said, is just a. Equals negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Now, if I wanted to check into these answers to see if I did it correctly, again, replace the variable with what number and then see if the number you got makes it true. What number plus 4 is 5? 1 plus 4 is 5. What number minus 8 is negative 5? 3 minus 8 is negative 5. What number times 3 is 27? 9 times 3 is 27. What number divided by 5 is negative 2? Negative 10 divided by 5 is negative 2. Now, if you were to look at two-step equations, let's say that you have more to it, and you see these types of equations. Basically, the order to think about going in is the opposite order of what you've learned in PEMDAS. Usually PEMDAS would be, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, it's parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So multiplication, division usually comes before addition, subtraction. But when we're solving equations, you want to do it in the opposite order unless there's parentheses involved. or unless you are doing something like distributing, which is what we'll see here. So when I look at this problem here, there's no parentheses, there's no distributing. It's just 3x minus 5 equals 10. So the opposite order would be addition, subtraction first. So I plus the 5 first. I plus the 5 first. I bring the 3x down. Minus 5 plus 5 cancels. 10 plus 5 is 15. And then I got 3x equals 15. Remember, 3x is multiplication. The opposite's division. Divide by 3, divide by 3. And x is 5. To check the answer, what number times 3 minus 5 equals 10? 5 times 3, 15, minus 5 is 10. That's true. M plus 6 over 2 equals negative 2. Now, this is a lot like parentheses. So when you see a problem like this, I'm not going to draw it just so you can have a reference, but this is just like having parentheses, what I was talking about here. So having these parentheses means you're going to do this last. So that means you're going to multiply first. So if you don't have everything on top of one number, you are going to do the multiplication first. 2's cancel. M plus 6 equals negative 4. I subtract 6. I subtract 6. And the plus 6 minus 6 cancels. I get m equals negative 10. Okay, and if I'm checking my answers, it's an ugly 0. I'm going to put a 0 there, and I'm going to go like that. There we go. So what number plus 6 divided by 2 is negative 2? Negative 10 plus 6 is negative 4, and negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So again, that is why you want to think of this like a parenthesis here. You do the parentheses, typically it's first, but you're going to reverse the order in that case. See how PEMDAS would be last? That means parentheses is going to come last here. That's why we would do that, because they're both over the same number. Now this guy is the distribution, the distributing, right? Now when I look at this, I'm going to have to do this first, distribute the numbers. Otherwise you're going to have a mess of things to solve, and it's going to be very difficult. So distribute first. 4, when you distribute, it's times. 4 times a is 4a, 4 of a. 4 times negative 2, negative 8. Plus 5 equals 9. Now in this particular step, which is why I wrote it this way, you want to combine like terms first. Combining like terms means the stuff that's either just both numbers or both variables. When you have two of the same thing on the same side, you combine them. 4, negative 8, positive 5. Negative 8 and positive 5 can combine. That makes a negative 3. So I get 4a minus 3 equals 9. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. The plus 3 minus 3 cancel. I get 4a equals 12. I'm going to go ahead and just bring that over here because we're kind of out of room there. So 4a equals 12. My last step is divide, because that's multiply. A equals 3. And to check my answer, 4 times what number minus 2 plus 5 is 9. So 3 minus 2 would be in parentheses. 3 minus 2 is 1. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. So that checks out. And if you see an equation that has variables on both sides, the key is to just move the variables to one side of the equation by using those opposites, opposite signs, opposite operation, and move the constants or the numbers without the variables to the other side. So in this case, what I usually like to do is pick the side with the highest variable, the most positive or most negative one, and move the other one to the side with the highest variable. It usually makes it easier to solve. So 3y, 6y, I want to move the 3y over to the 6y because 3y is smaller. 6y is bigger. I move it by minusing 3y. Looks like I'm kind of running out of space here, but yeah. Minusing 3y. And since I'm moving the y's to this side, I want to move the numbers to that side. So minus 4 becomes plus 4. That's the opposite, right? So plus 4. And what you see is, if you're doing this correctly, you're going to be adding and subtracting the exact same stuff on both sides. Minus 3y plus 4, minus 3y plus 4. Now I'm going to run out of room here, so I'm going to put the answer to this part of it just kind of over here. And we get 3y minus 3y cancels. 2 plus 4 is 6. And then I get 3y. So 6 equals 3y. And then I divide by 3 on both sides. And y will equal 2. So if we want to check this answer, if I put 2 in here, 3 times 2 plus 2. 3 times 2, 6 plus 2, 8. 6 times 2, 12, minus 4, 8. 8 equals 8, that's true. So the answer is, in fact, 2. So you've just seen the different types of ways you can solve single variable equations, whether that's on both sides, 2-step, 1-step, doesn't matter.